Coming in at number 78 on our Locked On Senators NHL draft rankings, we are going to Sweden, and we are going with Simon Zether, a 6'3" centerman who played mostly in the SHL, but got into that European, what do you want to even call it, like the multiplex, where it's like you're great against your own age group, but you barely play at the SHL level. It's such a catch-22 because it's great to be challenged like that and playing against the top players, but then there's games where he plays 2 seconds. There's games where he doesn't even step on the ice. And how are you supposed to evaluate a guy who barely plays?
And Ross, this is a particularly peculiar situation for Simon Zether here, because normally when we're talking about these guys over in Europe that are getting pro experience, but not really getting the full taste of it, but dominate at their own age level, usually they just get a handful of pro games. This guy played 42 games in the SHL and played 15 playoff games. So where is he? Like, is he too good for U20, or is he not good enough for the SHL? And you mentioned it. There's one game where he played 2 seconds, but then there's a range where he plays 16 and a half minutes. Like, it's crazy what's going on with this guy. And I wasn't able to find a whole lot on him. So a lot of it was just based off quick clips, little blurb articles that I found. But for a guy like him to dominate in his own age group, he was the captain of his U20 team, and he had 27 points in 18 games, only 4 assists in 42 SHL games. I have a very hard time getting a read on this player.
Me too. We should ask our guy Oscar Pettersson about him this summer. They played together with Rogla in the SHL and in the J20 system. Simon Zether, against his own age group, has just been dominant over the course of the last couple of years. He's got 68 points in 74 games during 3 years there, but the first one he had 3 points in 19 games. So since then, over a point per game, well over a point per game this past season. It's all about, for me and him, his hands. Like, to be 6'3", right shot centerman, by the way, and be able to pull off the dangles that I got to see on that highlight reel where he's playing against his own age group. It's a lot to like. I think the team's going to fall in love with that a little bit. Now, he is one of the oldest players in the draft. He's an October 2005 birthday. So it's what is he going to do to make his ceiling even higher? Like, what's the next step for him? Because if he's already kind of figured out his own age group, now's the hard part. Now is getting yourself into that same dominant position against the older group, or you're going to have to start being a bit more pliable with your style, and you're going to probably turn into a shutdown center with that size, that range, and a good skater. But he's got some moves in his bag of tricks that I think would be a shame not to pull off more and more. So he's a player I'm actually really interested in, and he just brings a lot of things that I like. Obviously, he's got the leadership as well. Scott, they're very high on him at 38 overall in his most recent rankings. Bob McKenzie has him at 76 and Elite Prospects at 83. So that's a average of 65.7.
Yeah, Ross, I feel like for Zether, similar thing as Ustinkov, right? If you have scouts or a scouting team or a team that's tied to that country, you're probably going to be dialed in on this guy more than other people. And our buddy Spoke Z, I saw a podcast where he was mentioning he thought it was crazy that other people aren't aware of what this guy is doing. And he even seemed to think that it wouldn't be that crazy if this guy went in the early second round. So it's someone that I think it depends on what you're looking for in a prospect that will determine whether you pick this guy or not. Ross, since I wasn't able to find a whole lot on this guy, I'm not really decided one way or another about him. So I gave him 3 out of 5 stars. I think there's potential here, but I'm not sure this is a guy that I want the Ottawa Senators taking a swing on, especially when we're looking at their second round pick. As we move up this draft prospect rankings, I think we're going to find guys that we like more in that position than Zether.
That's fair. Zether, just to put it in perspective, he had just the 4 points with the SHL team in 42 games. Oscar Pettersson this year with that same team only had 1 assist in 26 games. So that kind of puts in perspective a little bit that he was able to produce a little bit of offense, got his first SHL goal in that playoff run, 15 games. So Simon Zether comes in at number 78 on our NHL draft rankings.